your representatives and all of the politicians get here, including Biden, they get back from touring Ukraine, that he's got some money left over, because we're now at $117 billion. And as you probably know, Europe, when you add it all up, is at about $10 billion. That's a big difference, wouldn't you say? To the people of East Palestine and to the nearby communities in Ohio and Pennsylvania, we have told you loud and clear, you are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. We stand with you, we pray for you, and we will stay with you in your fight to help answer, and the accountability that you deserve. We'll have that accountability. It'll all be out there very clearly.
This is my first video update coming to you from Athens, Greece on this Thursday morning. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with a big win for presidential candidate Trump by going to Ohio and providing moral support as well as bottled water and food to the residents of East Palestine, something that the Biden White House and Pete Buttigieg and President Joe Biden should have done a week ago. Trump capitalized on Biden's PR disaster in Ukraine and Poland, and he took the initiative to go to Ohio and to do what the President of the United States should have done but didn't do. So this was a big PR win for Trump. It also brought a lot of attention to the residents of East Palestine, I believe it's pronounced. And all of this was taking place while Biden was running around in Ukraine and Poland. And even Trump highlights that. He said in his press conference, in his speech, that Biden is in Ukraine giving $117 billion to the Zelensky regime and forgetting about the people of Ohio. So this was a big win for Trump, a very big win for the former president, and a big L for the Biden White House. As they're running around in Ukraine, Trump is with the American people. And Maria Zakharova, she mocked Biden's trip to Ukraine as well. And she talked about how the narrative about Biden being so brave to visit Kiev was just all show. It was just all spin. Maria Zakharova, she said that Biden did not dare to visit Kiev without warning Russia and without asking the Russian side to ensure his safety. The U.S. leader's visit was staged with drama, but in reality resembled a failed stage of a provincial theater. In order to assign some drama to this moment, they even sounded the air raid alarm, Zakharova noted, although they told the people of Kiev in advance not to pay attention to it, due to absence of any actual threat. Everyone warned their neighbor, Biden is about to come. They will launch the siren, but it's okay. We can stay home or do our own stuff because it is a part of the staging. If Washington wanted to make another example to its allies on how to support the Kiev regime, it didn't come out too well, especially amid the loud claims that they are in total control of the situation and that Kiev has endured and is about to win. She pretty much is saying in this statement what we've been saying here on this channel and on the Duran with this trip of Biden's to Kiev. It was all theater. It was all staged, as was his speech in Poland. All theater. The whole thing was just for media optics. That's it. To keep the EU and the collective West invested in Project Ukraine. That was the main goal of this stunt. And that's what it was. That's why Biden was in Kiev. That's why Meloni traveled to Kiev. That's why Biden gave his speech in Poland. It's all about keeping EU member states the citizens of the collective West, keeping them invested in Project Ukraine, because the strategy that Newland and Blinken and Sullivan, Bidenopoulos, Greece's favorite son, the strategy that they've come up with is the hope strategy. That's it. It's the hope strategy. They're hoping that if they can give Zelensky what he needs to continue to fight the Russians, then in 6 months to a year, the Russian military will collapse. It will run out of ammo and it will collapse. That is what they're hoping for. And in order to accomplish that, this hope strategy to keep everyone invested in Ukraine for another 6 months to another year, they have to make crap up, like a Ukraine spring offensive. Maybe Ukraine will put together an offensive, but most likely not, my opinion. Maybe they will. Maybe I'm proven wrong come springtime, but it's the hope that Ukraine is going to mount a spring offensive. Keep people invested until the spring. And if that offensive doesn't come around, well, then it's going to be a summer offensive from Kiev. And then it'll be a winter offensive. Keep Europe, keep the collective West invested just a little bit longer. Just another few more months. That's why they're coming up with all of these different narratives of an eventual Ukraine win or an eventual Russian defeat. Keep it going just a little bit longer. The hope strategy. And hopefully Russia's going to run out of ammo. That's what they're betting it all on right now. They are betting their entire Ukraine project on the fact that Russia's going to run out of ammo. And so you send Biden to Kiev to talk about Ukraine victory and freedom and democracy, and then you put Biden up on stage in Poland to talk about the same stuff, and then you get Duda out there, the Polish president, to talk about these things as well, and you bring out the Estonian prime minister to say that she's 100% sure that Ukraine's going to win, and Anthony Blinken at Munich says that Ukraine is going to win. He's 100% sure, and you keep people invested for just a little bit longer, because sooner or later Russia will run out of ammo. That's their hope. That's all they have left. That's it. Look at this Wall Street Journal article. It says U.S. considers release of intelligence on China's potential arms transfer to Russia. U.S. and European officials believe that Beijing will not necessarily supply advanced weapons, but will most likely replace what Russian forces have lost on the battlefield in Ukraine, such as ammunition, or have been unable to produce due to sanctions, such as electronics. They've flipped the script, haven't they? They've turned the tables around. Just a week ago, NATO defense ministers, NATO generals and commanders, leaders of Europe, of the EU, leaders in the United States, Biden himself, Blinken, Sullivan, Ben Wallace, Rishi Sunak, all these people were coming out and telling us that Ukraine is running out of ammo, and they were in a state of panic because Ukraine is running out of ammo and they have to figure out ways to get ammo to Ukraine. Otherwise, in 2 or 3 weeks, the Ukraine military is going to collapse. That's what they were telling us. I forgot who it was. Was it Ben Wallace or was it Burrell? But someone said that if we don't get ammo to Ukraine, or maybe Stoltenberg, if we don't get ammo to Ukraine like ASAP, that's it. It's over. That's how bad the situation was for Ukraine. This was just last week, not even last week, 4 days ago, 5 days ago. And now all of a sudden, everything is flipped. Now it's Russia that's running out of ammo, and it's China that's going to come to the rescue of Russia. And the collective West, they need to prevent China from coming to the rescue of Russia because Russia's running out of ammo. Masters of projection. They are the masters of projection. It is incredible how good they are when it comes to projecting all of the stuff that they have going on, projecting it onto to Russia. And now to China as well. Because the new narrative is that Russia's running out of ammo, Russia's running out of weapons, Russia's running out of electronics, chips from dishwashers to put in fighter jets, because Russia's in tatters, I'm telling you, in tatters. We've gone back to that fiction. And they've now added the China element to that fiction. You know, before it was Russia's pulling chips out of washing machines to power up their fighter jets. They're in tatters, I'm telling you, in tatters. But now they've added the whole China element. They've spiced it up a little bit because now it's evil China that's going to be supplying Russia with what it needs to keep going. But they're telling us, you know, Biden, Nuland, Sullivan, Borrell, Stoltenberg, Blinken, they're telling us and they're warning China, don't you dare provide the ammo that Russia needs. And they're letting all of us know that just another 6 months, everybody, another 6 months to all of the citizens in Europe and the United States, another 6 months, another 50 billion. And trust us, Russia's going to run out of ammo. We're going to prevent China from providing Russia what it needs. And it's game over. It's victory Zelensky. This is the new narrative, the new spin on things. Unbelievable. Their projection is it's admirable. You have to you have to give them credit. When it comes to projection, they're the best. They're the absolute best. Is Russia running out of ammo? I don't know. Maybe. I doubt it. I really, really doubt it, because everything that's coming out of Russia is, we're not running out of ammo, guys. Here's Medvedev touring our factories. We're telling you that we can fight a 2, 3, 4-year war. Our factories are running 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Even Medvedev said that we're producing missiles like pancakes, like blini, like pancakes. That's how we're producing missiles, he said, and tanks and everything else. That's what Russia's telling us. They're telling everybody in the West, don't pin your hopes on this narrative that we're running out of missiles. And the message that we're getting from China and from Russia is we're not looking for missiles from China. We haven't asked China to provide us with missiles or with ammo. That's what they're telling us. That's what China's telling us. That's what Russia's telling us. It was North Korea a month ago. Then it was Iran. Then it was North Korea again. Now it's China. And now it's China providing Russia with the weapons that it needs. Otherwise, the Russian military is going to collapse. That's what the entire Biden trip and speech in Poland was all about. What all of this is about is keeping everyone in the collective West. And when I mean everyone, I mean everyone. The politicians, the defense ministers, the finance ministers, the foreign ministers, the opposition parties, the citizens, the Democrats, the Republicans, the Tories, Labor. It's all about keeping everyone invested in Project Ukraine for another 6 months to a year, so that the hope strategy can take effect. The hope strategy. They're hoping that something's going to happen. Some color revolution, some regime change. The hope that maybe Russia is running out of weapons. It's all a bluff. Or what did Bild run with the other day? What was the article that they ran with? The cover story? Russia doesn't have nuclear weapons. It's all a bluff. That's what they said. Bild. It was either Bild or Der Spiegel. I think it was Bild. They actually ran a cover saying Russia doesn't have nuclear weapons. It's all a bluff, everybody. It's all fiction. Don't believe any of it. Keep invested in Project Ukraine. Another 20 billion, another 50 billion. And everything's going to work out in 6 months or a year or whatever. That's what it's all about. That's why Meloni is in Kiev kissing the you-know-what of Zelensky. That's why Biden was there. Mark Rutte, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte. Russia will not go for the use of nuclear weapons, even if Ukraine deoccupies Crimea. Nothing to worry about, everybody. Keep on escalating. Keep on ramping things up for another 6 months to a year. The spring offensive is coming. Trust us, it's coming. 50 tanks, 60 tanks, 14 F-16s, 18 F-16s. Well, if you give your F-16s, I'll give over my F-16s, whatever. All of this stuff is just blah, blah, blah. What's really important to them is for Zelensky to send men to their certain death in Bakhmut to keep Russia bogged down. The thinking is to keep Russia occupied and bogged down, because in 6 months, something's going to happen, or 1 year, something will happen. And of course, Biden can't have a collapse. Now that you have an election cycle, he can't have another Afghanistan debacle. Now that things are getting very close to election season, Trump just pulled off a huge campaign win by going to Ohio. Biden, he got a big L with this debacle in Ohio and his trip to Ukraine. So they want to keep this thing going, at least until 2024. Got to keep everyone invested in Project Ukraine. China is doing its own thing. They're not listening to any of this nonsense and this pressure from the collective West with this whole weapons red line thing. They're ignoring all of it. Wang Yi was in Moscow. He didn't only meet with Putin, but he met with Lavrov. He didn't only meet with Lavrov, but he also met with Putin. And what did he tell Putin? He said, "We need to actively implement our efforts to respond to the crisis and deepen our cooperation. I want to emphasize that our relations did not succumb to pressure from third countries." This is huge. This is a huge statement from China. China and Russia are in a de facto alliance. They'll never say it's an alliance. Russia doesn't say it's an alliance. China doesn't say it's an alliance, but it's an alliance. And it's Wang Yi telling Vladimir Putin, we're not going to listen to anything that they're telling us, or we're not going to listen to any of their threats or their red lines, whether we're giving you weapons or not giving you weapons, or giving you ammo or not giving you ammo. We're not listening to any of it. We're going to do what we want to do, and we're letting you know, Russia, we're letting you know, Vladimir Putin, that we're in this together. No third countries are going to pressure us. No third countries are going to defeat us. The collective West is not going to defeat us. We're building this new world architecture. We're building it together. That's the message that Wang Yi delivered to Putin. And that's the message that Xi Jinping is going to give Putin when he travels to Moscow. This is the real war. I mean, Ukraine is a battle in this war, but this is the war. A fair world order, a new world architecture, new institutions like the SCO, new organizations like BRICS, moving away from the dollar, moving away from SWIFT, moving away from Visa and MasterCard. This is it. This was the big story of the last couple of days, is Wang Yi's trip to Russia. And the announcement that Russia and China, they're together now, and nothing's going to change that. What a geopolitical, what a global political disaster from the Biden White House. A historic disaster from the Biden White House. China's going to come up with a peace proposal. They're not calling it a peace proposal for Ukraine. They're calling it a type of policy proposition for the settlement of the Ukraine conflict. And this is such a smart move from China. It shows that China is taking the lead on the world stage. That's one thing that this shows. It's China coming out and calling out the United States. They're coming out with a way for peace, and they're calling out the U.S. escalation in Ukraine. They're saying that peace has to happen in Ukraine, but the first thing that needs to happen is that the U.S. needs to stop pumping weapons into Ukraine. So it's China calling out the U.S. escalation and EU escalation. It's China appealing to the global South. It's China coming out and saying we have answers to difficult solutions. We have fair answers to difficult solutions, to difficult problems. Sorry, we have fair solutions to difficult problems. And one of those difficult problems is Ukraine, but we're not talking about weapons and escalation and defeating Russia. Our solution is going to be something more along the lines of NATO neutrality, security guarantees, recognizing the realities on the ground, recognizing Russia's interests, recognizing Ukraine's interests. This is our solution for Ukraine. We don't have the details of this proposition, but that's pretty much what China's going to propose, which is going to be completely counter. They're going to propose a fair solution, which is going to be completely counter to what Zelensky is going to propose, which is going to be this 10-point plan, which is going to be something along the lines of tribunals for Putin and 750 billion in reparations and reconstruction, the resignation of the Putin government, stuff like that. Pre-1991 borders, Crimea, Russia has to give up Crimea. That's what the Zelensky 10-point plan is going to be. Nonsense, something that Russia's going to reject. But the Chinese plan, Russia's going to say, yeah, that's an interesting plan. Zakharova said in a statement that they didn't discuss this Chinese plan for peace in Ukraine, but they discussed it. They coordinated, they talked about it. They're on the same page, because Russia's going to come out and they're going to say, this is an interesting proposal from China, from our partners in China. We're open to negotiations as long as Ukraine doesn't come in with any demands or any preconditions, any conditions on the table. We're open to negotiating, and we think that the Chinese proposal is fair and balanced, and that's what Russia's going to say. And the global South is going to look at this and they're going to say, you see, this is how the world should be functioning. And of course, Zelensky's going to be told by the U.S. to reject China's proposal. Ukraine's going to have to reject it, because Biden, in no way can Biden have Ukraine accepting a proposal made by China. That's political. That's a political catastrophe for the Biden White House. So Ukraine's going to reject it, and everyone's going to look on and say, you see, Ukraine doesn't want to find a way towards peace. All they want to do is escalate. And while Biden and the Biden White House and Nuland, they're working on keeping the EU invested, Europe and the collective West invested in Project Ukraine, Russia and China, they're going to have the entire global South on their side. There's a catastrophe for the Biden White House, a diplomatic catastrophe for the Biden White House. They were hoping, what the Biden White House was hoping, they wanted this Zelensky peace plan to be a way for them to go to India or to go to Brazil or Argentina and South Africa and go to them and say, you see, Zelensky came up with a peace plan and Russia rejected it, and you guys need to come with us because Russia's evil. That's what they were hoping, but now they're going to get the exact opposite, because South Africa and India and Argentina and Brazil and countries in South America and Asia and Africa, they're going to say, well, China presented a peace plan and your guy rejected it. What's up with that? Why should we as Turkey change our neutral stance when China is putting together a very rational path towards peace? Why should we change our neutral stance? Why should we ditch Russia? Why should we stop trading with Russia? When all you guys are proposing is escalation, and China is proposing a more balanced way towards peace. Very smart move on China and Russia, because I think Russia definitely coordinated with China to come up with this type of peace proposition. A very smart move. It completely nullifies Zelensky's 10-point peace plan. Completely nullifies it, and it keeps 80% of the world on Russia and this new fair world order. It keeps them on that side. It either keeps them neutral or it keeps them on the side of Russia and China. That is one of the big lies of this conflict over the last year, is that Russia is isolated. That is a huge lie, and that lie is crumbling, and it worries the collective West. The reality is that EU and the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, that's the isolation right there. The rest of the world is moved on. They want to do business. They want to trade. They want to see a fair peace in Ukraine, a realistic peace in Ukraine. That's 80% of the planet. The other 20% has become isolated, and that's the 20% of the collective West. But the projection is that Russia's isolated. But the lie now is being exposed. And China is taking the lead in exposing that lie, because China's coming out and they're saying, we've got a plan for Ukraine. We've got a plan for the world. Here it is. And the only thing that Biden is doing is just escalating and escalating. He's getting on stage in Poland and he's Putin bad, Putin dictator, Putin authoritarian. Anyway, I've rambled on about this a bit, but it kind of brings us full circle to Trump, doesn't it? Because no matter if you love Trump or hate Trump or are just neutral about Trump, you gotta give Trump credit. When he was president, he had the right approach. He had the right approach. Yes, he appointed idiots like Bolton, McMaster's, and these warmongers. Big mistake. That was a big mistake. The people that Trump appointed was a tragic, costly mistake. But his thinking, his instincts were correct. Trump came into the White House and he said, there's no need to make an enemy of Russia. We don't have to be best friends. We definitely do not have to be enemies. We can cooperate when we need to cooperate, when we need to be adversaries. That's also fine. But we need to have dialogue with Russia. We need Russia on side and on good terms. And China, well, China, we need to move away from China. We need to divorce from China on an economic level. We don't have to be adversaries. We don't have to be enemies on a military level. We can be adversaries and competitors on an economic level, but we need to divorce ourselves. We need manufacturing in the US, and China can do its thing and we can do our thing, and we can compete on an economic level. And let's make this divorce calm and controlled, and we can both go our own ways. Each country can go their own way, and we can compete on the global stage on an economic level. There's no need for war. There's no need for conflict. Trump had it right. And I'm going to probably get a lot of pushback in the comments down below, but it's just facts. It's just the truth. He appointed terrible people. He appointed the worst people in McMaster's and Bolton and these guys. Just awful, awful neocon people. Nikki Haley. Big mistake there, but his instincts were correct. That's why we come full circle. And we come to Trump in Ohio. And that leads me to my clown world. And my clown world is Trump getting on the plane to go to Ohio and Biden stumbling as he gets on the plane to leave Poland. I think it sums it up, doesn't it? Anyway, that's the video, everybody. TheDuran.locals.com. We are also on Rockfin as well. And go to the Duran shop. pick up a Duran long sleeve shirt. This is my long sleeve shirt with the flag of Portugal. And I have to say this about the Portuguese flag. It's beautiful. I really, really love the flag of Portugal. Duran shop, 10% off. Use the code. Good day. Take care.